How a world war could start if Iran pushes Israel too far after terror attack. The geopolitical landscape is fraught with tension, and one spark could ignite a global conflagration. In the aftermath of a terror attack instigated by Iran against Israel, the delicate balance in the Middle East teeters on the brink of chaos. This video explores the potential scenarios and the domino effect that could lead to a world war. Number 4. Retaliation escalation. In the wake of the terror attack orchestrated by Iran against Israel, the Israeli government swiftly mobilizes its military forces for retaliatory strikes against Iranian targets. The strikes are meticulously planned and executed with precision, aiming to cripple Iran's military capabilities while sending a clear message of deterrence. However, far from deterring Iran, these strikes only serve to further inflame tensions between the two adversaries. Each Israeli military action is met with a swift and defiant response from Iran. The Iranian leadership, emboldened by its revolutionary ideology and unwavering commitment to its regional agenda, refuses to back down in the face of Israeli aggression. Instead, Iran escalates its own military operations, targeting Israeli military installations, strategic assets, and even civilian population centers. As the cycle of retaliation intensifies, the broader region becomes increasingly embroiled in the conflict. Neighboring countries, already wary of Iran's growing influence and expansionist ambitions, are forced to take sides. Saudi Arabia, a key regional rival of Iran and a close ally of the United States, pledges its full support to Israel. The Saudi leadership views the conflict as an opportunity to weaken Iran and curb its destabilizing activities in the region. On the other hand, Turkey, seeking to assert its influence as a regional power broker, aligns itself with Iran. Turkish President Erdogan sees an opportunity to position Turkey as a champion of Muslim solidarity against perceived Israeli aggression. Despite concerns about the potential consequences of siding with Iran, Turkey continues to provide diplomatic and logistical support to Tehran. Egypt, meanwhile, finds itself caught in the crossfire. The Egyptian government, keen to avoid being drawn into a full-blown conflict, calls for restraint and urges both sides to pursue a diplomatic solution. However, Egyptian military forces are placed on high alert, prepared to defend the country's borders and strategic interests in the event of a regional escalation. As the conflict escalates, the specter of wider regional destabilization looms large. Proxy militias and armed groups aligned with Iran and Israel are activated, launching attacks and counterattacks across the region. Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, both backed by Iran, intensify their assaults on Israeli targets, drawing the Israeli military deeper into the conflict. Number 3. Regional involvement. As tensions escalate between Iran and Israel, neighboring countries find themselves increasingly pressured to choose sides in the conflict, leading to significant geopolitical shifts and strategic realignments across the region. Saudi Arabia, long-standing allies with the United States and a staunch opponent of Iran's influence in the Middle East, sees an opportunity to weaken its regional rival by throwing its support behind Israel. The Saudi leadership views Iran's aggressive actions as a direct threat to its own security and stability, and thus pledges unequivocal support to Israel in its confrontation with Tehran. This alignment marks a significant departure from Saudi Arabia's traditionally cautious approach to openly siding with Israel, but underscores the severity of the threat posed by Iran's expanding influence. Conversely, Turkey, under the leadership of President Erdogan, adopts a starkly different stance by aligning itself with Iran. Erdogan, eager to assert Turkey's influence as a major player in the region and to position himself as a champion of Muslim solidarity, sees an opportunity to challenge Saudi Arabia's dominance and expand Turkey's sphere of influence. By siding with Iran, Turkey aims to bolster its strategic alliances and gain leverage in regional affairs, even at the risk of alienating traditional allies in the West. Egypt, situated at the crossroads of the conflict and deeply concerned about the potential repercussions of a regional conflagration, adopts a more cautious approach. While recognizing the gravity of the situation and the need to address Iran's destabilizing actions, the Egyptian government opts for a diplomatic solution to de-escalate tensions. Egypt leverages its diplomatic channels to urge both Iran and Israel to seek dialogue and compromise, while simultaneously preparing its military forces for potential intervention should the situation deteriorate further. Faced with the prospect of instability on its borders and the potential spillover effects of the conflict, Egypt remains vigilant in safeguarding its national interests, while advocating for a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Number 2. International diplomatic efforts. Despite diplomatic efforts to contain the escalating crisis, the deep-rooted animosities and geopolitical rivalries between major powers exacerbate the situation, leading to a further polarization of global positions and an escalation of tensions. The United States, as a long-standing ally of Israel and a key player in the Middle East, unequivocally condemns Iran's actions and pledges unwavering support to defend Israel against Iranian aggression. The U.S. government, under intense pressure from domestic constituents and pro-Israel lobby groups, emphasizes its commitment to Israel's security and vows to stand by its ally in the face of external threats. President Name issues statements condemning Iran's support for terrorism and reaffirms the United States' readiness to provide military assistance and diplomatic backing to Israel. In contrast, Russia and China, both wary of Western influence in the region and seeking to protect their own strategic interests, express support for Iran in the escalating conflict. Russia, a key ally of the Syrian government and a major arms supplier to Iran, views the crisis through the lens of its own geopolitical objectives in the Middle East. Russian President Name accuses the United States and its allies of destabilizing the region through their support for Israel and warns against any unilateral military actions that could further escalate tensions. Similarly, China, eager to expand its influence in the Middle East and protect its economic interests in the region, aligns itself with Iran in opposition to Western-backed initiatives. The Chinese president emphasizes the importance of respecting Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity, while urging all parties to exercise restraint and pursue dialogue to resolve the crisis peacefully. The divergent positions adopted by the United States, Russia, and China deepen the rifts in the international community and fuel suspicions of a broader proxy conflict unfolding in the Middle East. As the crisis escalates and the risk of military confrontation looms large, diplomatic channels become increasingly strained, with each side accusing the other of exacerbating the situation. The escalation of tensions between major powers raises concerns about the potential for a wider conflict with global implications. The prospect of a direct confrontation between the United States and its allies on one side and Russia, China, and their allies on the other sends shockwaves through international markets and heightens anxieties about the stability of the global order. Number 1. Economic warfare. As the conflict between Iran and Israel intensifies, economic warfare becomes a significant tool in the arsenal of involved nations, exacerbating tensions and triggering a series of cascading economic consequences with global ramifications. Nations aligned with Israel, led by the United States, swiftly impose stringent economic sanctions and trade restrictions on Iran and its allies. These measures aim to cripple Iran's economy, weaken its ability to fund proxy militias and military operations, and exert maximum pressure on the Iranian regime to capitulate to international demands. The sanctions target key sectors of Iran's economy, including its oil exports, banking system, and critical infrastructure, causing severe disruptions and economic hardship for the Iranian population. In retaliation, Iran and its allies respond by imposing their own set of retaliatory measures against Israel and its supporters. Iran threatens to disrupt oil shipping routes in the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz, through which a significant portion of the world's oil supplies pass, sending shockwaves through global energy markets. Additionally, Iran mobilizes its network of allies and proxies in the region to target critical infrastructure, shipping lanes, and commercial interests of countries aligned with Israel, further escalating tensions and exacerbating economic uncertainty. The disruption of oil production and shipping routes in the region sends oil prices skyrocketing to record levels, exacerbating the strain on already fragile global markets. The sudden spike in oil prices reverberates across the global economy, driving up transportation costs, inflating consumer prices, and dampening consumer confidence. Businesses face increased operating costs, leading to layoffs, supply chain disruptions, and decreased investment, further deepening the economic downturn. Financial markets react with panic and uncertainty as investors flee to safe haven assets in anticipation of prolonged instability and economic turmoil. Stock markets tumble, currencies fluctuate wildly, and bond yields soar as investors brace for the impact of a protracted conflict on global economic growth and stability. Central banks scrambled to intervene, injecting liquidity into financial markets and implementing emergency measures to shore up confidence and prevent a full-blown financial crisis. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications.